So here we are, we've got a Century Seagull engine, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a 1961 upwards, according to the serial number, which is just here to CPCL. There's a long shaft. This one's got a clutch on it. Come around here. So here's a clutch lever there. Now I got this off eBay. So it's not a customer's engine at all, it's just one I managed to get for a good deal. It's silly to pass it up for the price I paid for it. Sold as seen, so I've got no idea if it works, if it doesn't. The guy said it's been sitting for about 5 years, ran before that. Only thing I've done is I've disconnected the spark plug HT boot and I've sprayed most of the engine with PB Blaster just in case we need to take it apart. Hopefully that will soak in. But yeah, like I say, I've done nothing to it. I haven't even tried starting it. I've ordered a pull cord for it because I haven't got one. So I thought we'll just strip it down bit by bit, see if we can get it running. So I think the first thing we'll do is, if you can listen, when you try and turn the flywheel on top, you can hear that. You can hear rust. And I don't know whether it's just the drive shaft's grinding or whether the piston inside is scraping on the cylinder walls. So I'm going to take the spark plug out and just see whether taking it out helps, or if we can see inside or anything. I think that's the first job. We'll just take the spark plug off and have a look inside, and we'll put a compression tester on it as well. So I've withdrawn the spark plug there. Pretty black on top there, looks wet. Looking in, you can't see anything. I'll see if I can shine a torch in there, but I don't think I'll be able to see anything, to be honest. But we'll have a look. Sorry, I thought we couldn't see anything in there with a torch, so I'm just going to spray some PB Blaster in. Get it all up and in and around. Pretty much filled the cylinder there. And I'll let that soak for a few minutes, and then we'll try rocking the flywheel back and forth, just to see if we can free it off. It's not seized, but it's, you can hear something grinding. I don't want to damage the rings or anything like that. So I left that soaking for a while. You can hear now. Just turn the flywheel. It's turning a lot better, and I can turn it. Still not perfect, but I don't think we're going to get any better. Well, I don't think we're going to get any worse, sorry. I think the more it turns, should be all right. I mean, it's an old engine. If it seizes up and knacks, it's not the end of the world. I'm never going to use it on a boat. It's just, this is literally just to see if we can get it running and then take it from there. But I say it's just curiosity more than anything. See if we can get it going again. So I'm happy that the engine's not seized, which is a big concern with engines that have been sitting for a long time. And the next thing I want to check is that we've got still got an ignition. So what we've done is, because we're taking the spark plug out, we'll put it back in the boot seat here. And what we're going to do is we're going to ground it on the fuel tank here, and then we're going to spin the flywheel in a clockwise direction, and we're going to check the gap here for a spark. It'll be a very light spark, because obviously we're not pulling it at full revolutions, but we should be able to hear audibly and visually. We should be able to see a spark as well. Now ideally this is a two-person job, but I think I've got it balanced just enough to be able to spin it. So if you listen and look, don't know if you could see that, but I can see and hear a spark, so that's a good sign. So one other little issue we've found on this is, because it's an old fuel style tap, I put a bit of petrol in there and it's leaked straight out with it shut. That's it there. It looks quite new, that one, but it's leaking anyway. So what I've done is, it's held on with a grub screw on the front there, slackened it off, and we can withdraw it. And what it is, it's an old style with a cork bush. I think it's dried out and it's shrunk. There's a few splits on it. So what I've done, I put an O-ring right on the end there, and and one at the base. The one at the base doesn't really do anything, but helps when it's sealed shut. Now I think what I'm going to have to do is I probably have to replace it, in all honesty, or probably try and soak it in petrol and try and expand it, but I think it's fully dried out. It looks bad, but it might do for a test run, you know. But I'll add it to the list for things to get replaced, that cork. I mean, I'm not sure if it comes as a single piece, but for now it'll do. But something to look at. So then the next thing to do is look at this carburetor. Now I've seen one of these before. I think it's a Bing. So it's got this agitator, which is like a primer. And basically what it does is it just knocks down the float inside and floods the carb with extra fuel. I think the best thing to do, what we're going to do, is just take off the float bowl and just see inside. Depending on the condition inside the float bowl, sort of give us a good idea of what's happening inside the carburetor itself. Looking at it, it's not sitting square, so I think we'll slacken off that clamp as well, just there, and just try and straighten it out a little bit. So I've just straightened that carburetor there. It's pretty plumb now. Just on that clamp there, 9mm socket, slackened it off, twisted it, and then just tightened it back up. I'll drop the float bowl off now, we'll have a look inside that. Slackened it off there on a 13mm socket. So we'll just wind this out. Yep, there we go, there's all the fuel coming out. Should really have a little bowl there to catch that, because I want to see what the condition is. So like I was saying, I caught the fuel that was coming out, but in all honesty, I think the bowl was probably dry, and what's in there is, I think, the stuff that I put in the tank, because it looks pretty similar in colour to the 2-stroke I was using. So we'll just see if we can just take the bowl off. So I've got the bowl off, and the float is an old style brass one. Sometimes what can happen is you can get a puncture in it and you get fluid in it, so the float becomes less effective, but give it a shake and that one sounds bone dry. Inside the bottom of the float chamber there, it's pretty bad. I mean, not horrendous, nothing a nice good wipe won't solve. Look it up here, see the sort of the main assembly where the jets are and everything, the float and needle, and that little button on top there. You can see it protruding there, and that's what agitates the float. I'm hoping that it won't need stripping down and cleaning. Not that it's a big job on this one. I believe this is a Bing carburetor. I'm not going to strip it down. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray a bit of carb cleaner in and just pull it and see if it starts. And if it keeps going, brilliant. If not, we'll strip it down and clean it. I don't want to do too much work to it. So I've cleaned the bowl and sprayed as much as I can. I've lifted the choke off there as well, and just be mindful that the bottom sort of nut is threaded, and it does collect a lot of crap in the bottom, because that is sort of like the lowest part of the bowl itself, because although there's the bowl, this is hollow because the main tube for like the metering jet is inside of there as well, or the needle. So just be mindful of that as well. So the next thing I want to look at is the clutch. Now, off camera I have freed it off because this was seized, but it does go up and down on this handle here. And when I lift it up, it pulls the prop in, and I push the handle down, it pushes the prop out. Now, I don't know if that's how it should be, I have no idea. But I feel like when it's out, that's it disengaged, and in, as it's drawn in, engages. Now, when it's fully in, it does make a clattering noise, but it's not engaging, like the flywheel's not turning or anything like that. I'm pretty convinced it's like direct drive. Once it's in, it's in. There's no centrifugal clutch or anything like that as well. So I'm going to take the prop off and just see what is going on, whether there's a shear pin that's snapped or something, but we'll have a look. And to remove it, it looks like we've just got a cotter pin on the front there. So we'll take that off. It's really rusty, I'll probably end up just snapping it off. So after some persuasion, managed to get that pin out. Pretty well stuck in there. Just used the dead blow hammer and the drift in the end. Managed to whack it out. So now we'll pull the prop off and just see what's happening behind there. So just take that spacer off and then assume it should just push out. There is a pry position there, so I've just levered the spring off. I'm hoping now we should have better access to be able to remove the engine. It seems to be stuck to the shaft somewhat. I don't know whether there's some sort of connection behind or not, but we'll see. I'll see if I can tap it off. No, it doesn't appear as if there is. Just some taps, rotating the prop as we go. It seems to be drawn off the shaft. There we have it. The prop is off. Just a few taps with a dead blow and it came off. So now I'm going to have a look inside and see how this clutch mechanism works. So I've cleaned it up as best as I can, and I'm not entirely sure how this clutch assembly works. Now there seems to be an outer sort of part here with two sort of lugs. They're pretty worn down now. I don't know whether they were supposed to engage with something in the base of the prop here, because the prop's pretty chewed up. There's not much, pretty corroded. It does move in and out, and I don't think there's gearing inside of here. Obviously there's going to be from the vertical to horizontal, but I don't think there's a forward and reverse. I think this is literally just engages it onto drive, and then it goes to neutral. There's no reverse on it. If I move it, it sort of just throws it in and out, but the flywheel doesn't move at all, no matter how much you turn it. So I don't know whether the gears inside are stripped. I wouldn't have thought so. Thing is, without knowing enough about how the Seagull works, I'm sort of just guessing. So, if it spins, I've put a little pick into here and here on the drive shaft, and I can feel it down to here. So I know at least the shaft is connected to the flywheel down to here. Now going into here, I don't know if we'll be able to get a pick into there or not. But I might have to take the back gear casing off just to check what's going on inside. Now I can feel it on this top one, but on this bottom one there's an awful amount of rust coming out. Now I don't know about you, but that's not a good sign. And the more and more I pick out, the more it keeps replacing the stuff I picked out. So I don't know if it's corroded and it's just sheared. But I'll persevere and I'll see, and we'll find out what's truly going on. So right now, at the moment, with this flywheel turning, the shaft's not turning, the amount of rust I'm getting out of here, now I can feel it. If you put that pick in there, I can feel. So you're moving the flywheel there, and you can see the picks moving a little bit. If I put it in the bottom here, if I can get past all this rust, there's just nothing. So at the moment, my thought is that it's sheared around about here. Well, definitely above that line there. Between here and here, it's sheared, the drive shaft. Might be wrong, but I don't think I am. The amount that's coming out, I think it's failed. I'm going to attempt to try and split the gearbox. Whether I can or not, I don't know. But we'll give it a go and we'll see what we can do. I mean, just look at the amount that's coming out. And I'm not even really digging. It's So something truly awful's happened inside of here. It never really occurred to me when I was turning this to look up at the flywheel, because I just assumed. But the spring, which is normally the fail point on this, is still good condition. So I think it's just age, it's just corroded through, it's probably been sitting in water. I mean, so yeah, my thought is at the moment, looking at the weed that's on here, and the fact that there's rust coming out of here, whether it's been stored in water or whatever, I think it's been stored on the back of a boat in the water for a long time, and I think it's just rotted through. I don't think it's struck anything prop wise. The prop tips are alright, but like I say, I got this as a bargain. It literally cost me nothing other than petrol money to get it, and I'm not spending any money on it. I'm not willing to repair it. It's not worth it anyway. Even if it was running, they're only worth about £100 brand new. Yeah, I'll try and split it, and just to confirm my thoughts. But sometimes with these old engines, it's really hard to get the bolts out. But I'll give it a go. But I'm convinced, in between this water inlet and this water inlet, we've got a failure in there. So I'm just going to pop the back gear case and cover off. Not that I think anything's wrong, it's just curiosity. I just want to see what's going on. You can just see in there as well, but not enough to see definitively what's going on. I just want to confirm that there's none of the gears have sheared. I don't think they have, but at this point it's more of just a tear down to see what's going on with the engine. Like I say, it's not salvageable. I mean, it is, but financially it's not worth it. They're not particularly expensive engines. Like I say, when they are running, they're only about 100 quid. This is a good one. It's got a clutch on it, and the guy said it did push the boat along, but I don't think he sold me a duff. I think it has literally genuinely rusted. He said it's been standing for years and years, and I know the guys. I've spoken to them before, but it is what it is. So we'll pop this off and just see what's going on inside. So as always, we'll just strike it with the impact. So there we go, that's the last screw out. So now we'll just pop the cover off and see what's going on inside. So I've just popped the back cover off, and we can see the main gear on the back there. It looks like the oil is very contaminated with water. Obviously with these engines, you never know when the last time things were changed, so we only assume there's corrosion inside the gearbox as well. So what I did is I've lifted up this gear without removing it yet, and inside the gearbox is full of water. Now the small gear there it appears seized, and I think that might be our problem. I think something might have came adrift in this section here, which is what I thought, because the shaft, the prop shaft, when you turn that, it turns the gear in inside of here. Well, not the gear in, but the shaft. But when this large gear engages with the small gear, it locks up. So I think our problem is the water inside the gearbox has caused a failure of the bearing just inside of there, and I think that's our problem. So I popped that gear off. There it is, there's the condition of it. It's not too bad, I mean it'll clean up. But inside there you can see that's just pure water inside of there. I'm going to have a look at this gear here in a second, but it's not looking good. So I've just drained the remainder of the water out there, and you can see inside the gear casing. Like I say, it will clean up. It's just like an aluminium alloy body, so there's not too much corrosion inside of there. There's a bit of surface pitting, but it's this gear here that's caused the trouble. I think that's our failure point. So I have managed to free that gear off slightly. I can turn it by hand there now, and it does appear to be rotating a collar inside of there, but I think in all honesty it looks like something's come detached. I think I'm going to have to take this off to actually see what's going on. I think there's a multitude of sins occurring in here. I think it started from the water, seizing that gear, and then it's done something here. I think that's what's happened. But it'd be interesting to find out.